Here we have it. Knicks Pacers Eastern Conference Finals. Knicks first conference finals appearance in 25 years. Pacers back for the second year in a row. You know, I went to the Knicks practice facility yesterday and I'm walking in and I'm thinking, I've never been here for a practice at this point of the year. Usually, if anything, I'm coming up for a draft workout or a coach has been fired press conference, and here we are, Eastern Conference Finals. So a very different scene at the practice facility yesterday for me. And I want to get right into it, though, guys. From a X's and O's basketball perspective, what do you think is going to be a key in terms of the Pacers imposing themselves on the Knicks? And Joe, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that since almost the moment that they bounced the Cavs in 5 games. It was interesting. It was either before game 5 or after, I can't remember. But Cavs coach Kenny Atkinson compared the Pacers to a college team, and he said it as a term of endearment. You hear about the pace or the tempo at which the Pacers play, but that can be a little bit misleading because it's not just that they get the missed shot and get out into transition, or even that they take the ball out of the basket and throw it ahead quickly. They start on defense by pressing 94 feet. And it was too much for a somewhat banged up. We could talk a little bit about that, or not, because the Cavs are done. But the Cavs maybe didn't have all the horses, and certainly over a 5 game series, they wore down. They could not sustain the level at which the Pacers play. So you get into this Knicks situation, and on paper, as we know, they don't play a ton of guys. And so the same basic question is, will the Pacers, just the way they play, is that too much for the Knicks over a 7 game series? The big difference is the Knicks are mentally tough. They just have tougher guys than the Cavs do right now. So, and they're in better shape. I don't know what else you could say about this. I mean, the Cavs were so thoroughly gassed at the ends of those games, and the Knicks, with the short rotation at which they play, they're coming back from 20 points down against one of the best teams, out there last series. So you wonder if the mental toughness and physical conditioning of the Knicks will mitigate that factor from the Pacers side, but the Pacers play at a pace that you're just not that used to in the NBA.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Is it Jalen Brunson dealing with that ball pressure? Do they have Josh Hart bring the ball up? Is it someone else? How do they break the pressure? Because if you're asking Brunson to bring the ball up against that full court pressure every time, that's going to wear on him a bit, I would think. So that's an interesting one to take a look at. Dexter, how about you? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at, a lot of what Joe said I thought was really good in terms of the pace. And you look at how the Pacers have played since January 1st. They're within the top 10 in pace. But I think the most impressive thing with them is they were number one in assist to turnover ratio. This is a team that does not turn the ball over a lot at all whatsoever. The Knicks are one of those teams too. So who dominates the pace is going to be really important here. I think where the Knicks could have an edge here, as you heard Joe talk about the toughness, is what they can do on the glass. Mitchell Robinson has been so key for them during this postseason. If he's able to get them second chance opportunities, that could bode well for the Knicks. So I think that's a way they can control the pace. I do worry a little bit about what you brought up there, Ian, in the fact they're going to press Brunson full court. Is Josh Hart going to take some of that ball handling responsibilities? Will we also see that from Mikal Bridges? That is something the Knicks have been able to use. So I think how the Knicks are able to preserve Brunson's energy against the defense of the Pacers is going to be really important. And then when the Knicks are in the half court, guys, how that half court offense looks, because if they are efficient, if the Knicks also themselves are able to get some easy baskets in transition, if they're able to add some pace, pun intended here, that can help them in this series against the Pacers. So very interesting clash of styles here in this conference finals matchup.
Yeah, the Knicks are always at their best offensively when they do get stops and they can go push the pace the other direction. I wonder from a transition defense standpoint, Knicks have been up and down there. They were very good game 6 against Boston. They were not good game 5, and that's going to be important in this series. And then, just defending Tyrese Halliburton, it's an obvious one, but you have options there if you're Tom Thibodeau. You have Mikal Bridges. You have Josh Hart. You even have OG Anunoby. Who do you go to? Does it work? How do you adjust? That's what I'm keeping an eye on. as well. And so, guys, we were talking about it a little bit before the show, but I certainly, all year long, I was saying the Knicks could not beat the Celtics. I said if both teams were healthy, which they were, by the way, pretty much. I know Porzingis was sick, and then before Tatum got hurt, the Celtics were pretty much whole. Knicks were whole. Celtics missing Sam Hauser. But I did not think in that scenario Knicks would beat the Celtics. I was dead wrong all year long. I mean, Joe, what was your read on it going into this thing?
Yeah, I mean, certainly in interviews like this would almost poo-poo that series. Like that one was the foregone conclusion. Dexter and I were talking off air just about how wrong you can be when you get into trying to handicap some of these series. But I think, I do think, and this is, I guess, my biggest word of caution for the Knicks going into this next round. What Brad Stevens said yesterday in Boston was right. The Celtics did blow those first two games. I mean, you're at home. They have the firepower that they had. Tatum's not hurt yet, and they're up 20. And to go into the offensive funk that they did, you can't account for that. So good for the Knicks to take advantage of it. You can't account for it as a handicapper. I mean, so good for the Knicks to take advantage of that. But I guess we're in the Eastern Conference Finals. There's 4 teams left in the whole league out of 30, and we are still asking the basic question of how good are the Knicks actually. It was an underwhelming regular season. They did go 0-10 against the Cavs, Celtics, and Thunder. And guess what? Only one of those teams are left. So, part of this is like sort of the battle of attrition. Can you survive? The Knicks have survived to this point. I think what we've seen, it's interesting. The Pacers, they play with such maturity at the end of these games. They did not make mistakes in any of the close games, whereas the Cavs did. They crumbled throughout. The Knicks, though, I just feel like they are so tested in these late game situations, and Brunson obviously being the clutch player that he is, it's another case of like strength versus strength here. Maybe they both do that well.
Dexter, I mean, for you coming into this, I think you actually might have been one of the select few that thought the Knicks had a shot. Am I wrong?
No, you're wrong. I was not that person. That wasn't me. I picked the Celtics in 6. And Ian, look, you and I you were obviously at all these games. I was at a good amount of these games this year. And I saw a couple of Celtics games, and the Knicks looked like they were outclassed in those games. We all saw this. We all watched this. They looked like they were outclassed. But in the middle of the season, I was doing the show, and I brought up the question that Joe just brought up, the point that he made, which is, is their identity being clutch? And I watched this after they had won games back-to-back on the road in Memphis and then Miami. And the Knicks in tight games, they seem to be fine. They seem to know what they're doing. They know how to handle their offense. Obviously, they have the clutch player of the year, as was mentioned in Jalen Brunson, and how tremendous he is in clutch situations. But I think that has only grown for this team throughout the playoffs. They have become stronger in their resolve there. And they didn't have close games against the Celtics, so we never knew what that could look like. Now they've played in close games. Now that they've slayed the dragon, to say, I do think this can bode well for this team moving forward in terms of their confidence, because they have done it. But I think where I would proceed with a little bit of caution for the Knicks fans out there is that what you have seen, especially in the Celtics series, they were down in 14 in every game except for game 6. You have to say you don't want to play with your food. And I'm not calling the Pacers food because I'm respecting the opponent, but I don't think you want to get into a habit of being down to opponents and coming back and then putting yourself in stressful clutch situations often. I think at times it has to look somewhat like it did in game 6, where you can be dominant from your start, have your foot on the gas and move forward. So I do think this Knicks team is tested. But yeah, Ian, no, I did not pick them to beat the Celtics. I wasn't that guy.